Welcome to the Fort Myers Beach Good Neighbor Podcast Health and Wellness Series, brought to you by Renew You, Natural Health and Beauty, where we make wellness feel possible and turn everyday choices into stronger living. Each episode brings you uplifting conversations, local resources, and practical tips to help you look better, feel stronger, be emotionally balanced, and more connected to the community around you. So take a breath and settle in, because feeling better starts right where you are.
Welcome, Fort Myers Beach Good Neighbors, to another episode of our Health and Wellness series. And today we have Danielle Rambur, who recently put together the Glow by the Gulf event. And amongst other things that she does, she wears many different hats, I want to say. So let's start with your story.
Okay.
People connect with why you're passionate about bringing these wellness conversations and events to Southwest Florida specifically. So share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for having me. I think it all begins with a story. And typically, people get into their industry because of something in their lives, and you relate back to their hero's journey, right? But my story begins almost 12 years ago, actually. Actually, it was 12 years ago this month. I was 37 years old and I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. I had the BRCA1 gene, so, it wasn't like staged really high, but it was aggressive because of the type of cancer in the gene. I lived in Denver at the time. I was at altitude at 8,000 feet. And one of my best friends had just gone through the same thing. And so, she told me where to go. And I just jumped in. And, I grew up on a cattle ranch in Montana. And, I was just taught, you cowboy up, right?
That's it.
I just got on the horse. And I'm like, I wasn't really too worked up about it. It was crazy though. It was over a phone call. And I hate that. It's just so unpersonal. It was tough. But I went forward and I'm like, I'm just going to do this. Let's go. Let's get it over. I'm going to be fine. I got this. And that's not what happened to me. So, I went through 7 surgeries and 8 rounds of chemo in a 15-month period. And it was just a really dark time for me. Living at altitude, I couldn't breathe. So I was in and out of the ER. Surgeries kept failing. And I was on oxygen for 5 months. And if they would have told me, hey, go down to sea level, then it might have changed things, but I just kept, pushing through. But a lot of things happened personally for me as well. So it just kept getting darker and darker. My son slid into addiction and my relationship was failing. So it was very tough. It was very isolating. And, my story always leads back to, me. I was at a point, Jim, where I didn't want to be here anymore. It was a dark, dark time. And I lead into this church service that I was invited to, and it was Easter Sunday, 2015. I was bald. I was 100 pounds soaking wet, and I was just begging God to take me. And the message that day was, God's silence is not an indicator of his absence. Hold on, he's got a plan for you. You just can't see it yet. And I have the little sticker here because I went home and I wrote it down. And I walked out of that service crying. Like I was just like, okay, I can do this, and it just gave me the hope to move on, knowing that if I could take what I went through and help other people, that it wouldn't be in vain. And so, I got hope back and I got my will to live back. But things continued to be a struggle for me, and left the relationship. And actually afterwards, I couldn't gain weight for about 2 years. I was 100 pounds and I left the relationship. I was living at home in Montana, my dad's ranch. And, you have survivor guilt. You have, I just was a shell of a human and I didn't know what I was going to do. I was a realtor at the time. And, I went to Sedona actually on a healing journey. And it was actually, I was looking for mental help at that point. And it was a psychologist that introduced me to energy medicine. And I just thought, I've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. Of course, I felt good. I was in Sedona. It's magical. But I just bought this $6,000 mat and I'm like, all right, whatever. I have 3 little sisters. They all have the BRCA gene as well. And I just didn't want them to go through what I went through. And another story as well is I had almost overdosed. My doctors had me on gabapentin, Ambien, and Xanax at the same time for a year.
Wow.
Not good. Not good at all. And that was not on purpose. So there were 2 instances there where I was kept here. Well, at the time in Sedona, I had gotten to a point where I was going to remove my breasts again. I was just in so much discomfort, and it was causing so many issues in my body. And that's where I was at. Well, I bought this mat and I wrapped the pad around my chest, and literally in 4 days, my pain was gone. In 5 months, I was off all pharmaceuticals, and that's where I knew that God had me here for a reason. I had to share this. And so that's what led me into more holistic root cause healing. When I was going through cancer, I was chasing doctors. I grew up on a cattle ranch, and I felt like I was a cow just being pushed through a chute, right? It's like I was never treated as Danielle. I was treated as, what I had, right? And a statistic, and how they treat those people. And it was just a dark, dark time, but coming out of it and finding this technology has changed my life in so many ways. And it's been a blessing. I thank God for my cancer today, believe it or not. And I will be 12 years cancer-free in November.
Well, congrats on that. And like you mentioned, God put you on a path to serve others, and that's what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
So when listeners are meeting you for the first time, what kind of people are typically reaching out to you, and what are they struggling with typically?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people reach out, they're just saying they don't feel like themselves anymore, like they're not getting good sleep. Insomnia is a big thing. Chronic fatigue is a big thing. Just, slow recovery, burnout. They just are feeling pretty depleted. A lot of people actually reach out because of injuries. They maybe are recovering from, a broken ankle, or possibly a lot of times they're on the verge of like a knee replacement or shoulder replacement. They're having inflammation and pain. And, and then some are just like, they're looking for longevity. They want to age well. And they're looking for more holistic ways to do that.
So when someone, what am I trying to say here? I'll just start that question over again, I guess. See, that's a nice thing about doing this. I can edit myself.
Yeah.
So what's something about health and recovery that you now maybe did miss 10 years ago?
Oh, yeah. Well, I would have to say it would have been. Yeah, it would have been. I've been doing this for 10 years. So you're about right on that. It's 10 years ago. But I really, I'd say I would have thought that the recovery and nervous system health were more secondary to things like exercise and diet. And now I believe that that is foundational. Through my journey, I've learned how intelligent our bodies are when the body, right, is given the right environment and the support. And I also realized really how much stress affects us physically, way more than people understand. When my cancer kicked in 30 days prior, my son was assaulted in school, and he had to have surgery. He had 4 plates put in his face. And 30 days later, I was diagnosed with cancer. The stress of that and seeing my son and that heartbreak just set me into cancer. And so when I started looking at health through like a broader lens, I just started understanding and putting all of that together. Your sleep cycles, the stress, the circulation. I learned so much about the circulatory system and, energy production, that I just noticed that people, were really not broken. They're just either overloaded or they're depleted. And a lot of times that's, minerals in the food and that type of thing.
Absolutely. So previously you used the term energy medicine, which some people are curious about, others a little bit skeptical. But when someone hears energy medicine and thinks, woo, woo, how do you explain it in normal human language?
Yeah, and that's a good question, because when I started sharing this, it was in my small town of eastern Montana of 7,000 people. So I'm working with farmers and ranchers, and I showed up at my little local fair and rodeo, and it was like they did think that, right? But I'll tell you a story. When my 92-year-old great aunt started golfing again, they started looking at things differently. And but I like to explain it really in a pretty grounded way. The body already operates through electrical communication, right? Like we're all electrical beings. Our heart, our brain, the nervous system, every cell relies on electrical signaling every second of the day. And so just think of it like in a sense of if you've ever seen someone or you yourself have maybe been hooked up to a heart monitor in a hospital, what you're seeing on that screen, right, is the electrical voltage. And when that voltage flatlines, what happens? The life is gone, right? Well, this is happening at a cellular level, and healthy cells also maintain healthy electrical charges across their membranes. So whether it be like the stress, we talked about inflammation, just the natural aging process will do it, insomnia, autoimmune, anything like that, it disrupts that communication and then it lowers the cellular voltage. So just like, I'd say like you know what happens when your phone goes down to like 40%? What do?
You panic. You got to recharge it, right?
Yes, you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta go recharge it. Well, that's what's happening to our bodies. So, think of it like that. So I actually use technologies, which we call energy medicine, using pulsed electromagnetic fields to help support that healthy cellular communication. And then it's just recharging your body. So just like we plug in our phone every night or our computer, we need to plug in. And so to me, I do call it sometimes the magic mat, and some of my clients call it that, but it's really just charging your battery and your communication systems. It's really that simple, honestly.
So when people start working with you, let's talk about how that actually looks like. How do you help someone start exploring recovery and wellness without really overwhelming them?
Yeah, I mean, and it can be very overwhelming, especially right now because there's so much out there. But really, it's just simplifying things because people really are already overwhelmed. So, just focusing on the basics, how is your sleep? Are you drinking enough water? We should drink half of our body weight in water each day. Are you exercising? What are you doing to remove your stress? You don't need to change everything overnight, but like small, consistent habits, no matter what it is going to matter more than just extreme routines. So, nothing's an overnight fix, although, the pharmaceutical companies like to promote that. But really, overall health, wellness, it's just supporting your body over time and really checking in and paying attention to how you're feeling day to day.
And that's the important part. So let's talk about the tool that gets the most questions. You work with different types of PEMF technology, including low and high intensity systems.
Mhm.
What's the difference and how are people using them in everyday wellness and recovery?
Yeah, so PMF, a lot of people have heard of it. It's there's a lot out there right now, but it stands for pulsed electromagnetic field technology. So pulsed electromagnetic field. And I think the easiest way to explain it is between the low and the high. So the low intensity systems are really just whole body wellness. Really, I like to look at it for prevention, and that's why I got it. I didn't want my sisters to go through what I went through. And I know that cancer can't survive in an oxygen-rich alkaline environment. Well, this mat is getting the oxygen to your 37 trillion cells every day. So the low intensity is meant for in-home use. It's whole body wellness. It's recovery, circulation. It's helping you sleep and just really getting you into that parasympathetic state, which is your nervous system, the relaxation. And so the low intensity is like the battery charge, like we talk about, but high intensity is like the jumper cables, right? So they're a lot stronger and they're more clinic grade. So that's used for muscle stimulation, performance. We're doing a lot in the pelvic floor space right now, which I'm getting a lot of amazing testimonials with that as far as incontinence, erectile dysfunction, core stability, balance. And then it does body contouring for us as well, and chronic pain. So it's not like one is better. It's really about using the right tools for the right issue that you're dealing with. So it helps everyone in every way. I say the low intensity, every home should have one in every barn. I work with horses and cattle, and even our little four-legged friends love it as well. And what's fun with them is there's no placebo. We sit on it and we get in our heads and we're like, oh, well, yeah, I slept better last night and, I had more energy, but it's probably because of this, right? It's not that mat. Well, a horse will just show you, and it's really fun to watch. So those are great clients for me.
The horse knows, of course.
Of course, of course.
So let's connect that to the bigger picture, longevity and feeling good day to day. When you say longevity, what does that mean in your world and what are we trying to improve?
Yeah, I mean, I think longevity, we think of, how long you live, right? If you're going to live to be 100. But it's really more about maintaining the quality of life as you age. If you live to be 100, but from age 85 on, you're bedridden or you're in a nursing home, that's not longevity, right? It's not just about living longer. So it's really about quality of life and having the energy to enjoy your life and really just keeping active, right? Having that mobility. And of course, a big thing, which we're seeing a lot, is the mental clarity to stay engaged and to have those relationships and to keep doing the things you love, and that's longevity to me. It's aging healthy, not aging sick.
Yep. Now let's bring that down to the weekly, or as we call it, maybe regular routine, because that's where the real magic works, right? Or
Mhm.
happens. What's your approach to fitness that actually works for real people, especially for those who are busy or maybe easily intimidated,
I mean, just go outside and walk. It can be that
right?
easy. We live in this beautiful area, and so like I don't think you should punish your body, right? You don't have to always do extreme workouts. It's more consistency. So walking, strength training as we age is definitely good for us, and of course recovery. So I really just tell people to start where they are and building gradually. If you're walking, doing some light strength training a few times a week, of course, stretching, good sleep, and that's going to make improvements over time. And, I think the biggest mistake, and we see it at the beginning of every year, right? When people like hit the gyms and, they're going to do all this and, they go in hard and fast and then they burn out, right? And then they quit. So it's just making a consistent effort and whatever works best for you. And of course, here it's pickleball. I mean, gosh, we've got pickleballs everywhere.
And we love it. We're outside, of course.
Yeah.
So nutrition plays a part of that as well too. So what habits tend to make people feel better or sometimes make them feel worse without them even realizing it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, as things are coming out, and I think, I mean, not to get into politics, but
Yeah.
RFK Jr. is really opening up our eyes to the food industry. And we're really seeing how much processed foods can affect us. So really, taking heed of that, sugar, of course, sugar, alcohol, and dehydration. But some people undereat protein as well, which is going to affect your energy, right? So people who, and I tend to, I can tell you, I think I've shared this with you, like I just keep working and then I don't take the time to eat, or I rush through the meals, right? And so it's really just nourishing your body. And there's not a perfect diet for anyone or everyone. I know people who were pure vegan and then their body was craving meat and they were having issues. I know people who can't eat meat. So it's different for every person, but whole foods, live foods, is really, really important, and just not chasing those extreme diets or fads.
And you mentioned being here in Southwest Florida. We have our own wellness challenges being down here, but how do the heat, sun, dehydration show up in energy, sleep, recovery, and cravings for people that actually live in a warm climate like we do?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think people here definitely, I mean, it's been hot this last week, and we're getting to that season. So I think people are losing a lot more fluids and electrolytes than they really realize. If you're active outdoors all the time, if you're golfing, boating, playing pickleball, dehydration will show up maybe as headaches. Like we see that quite a bit, fatigue, of course, the insomnia, and, even anxiety-like symptoms. So those are just things to be aware of. But I think water alone is not enough. You also need minerals. You need electrolytes, especially with this heat. So it really needs to be intentional. I personally do Celtic sea salt in the morning with fresh squeezed lemon every morning. And that's affordable. It's easy, and the mineral salt really helps you provide sodium and trace minerals, which helps your body retain that water more effectively. So that's what I do personally, but I drink water all day long.
So let's throw some stress on top of that, because there's a lot of people out there living, in that fight or flight mode. And after all our community's been through in the last couple of years,
Mm.
there's a lot of stress out here in the island and with people around us. Do you think people underestimate how much stress really affects their body on a regular basis?
100%. Like, and that's really what's happened. I mean, we had Ian, we were stressed, we got through it, felt good. And then here come, Debbie, Helene, and Milton, all of our friends. So that fight or flight mode, right? You're just like, you're getting your house together, you're doing what you need to do, and you're go, 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 and you don't even realize it. And so between that everyday stress and then, the constant stimulation of technology, that's stressing us on a level because our nervous system's constantly being pulled in different directions and it's under a lot of pressure. So stress, like, we talked about, it's going to affect every part of your body, whether it be your sleep, your energy, inflammation. And, just because you think you're resting because you're sitting still or you're taking time, is your nervous system relaxing?
Yep. And
No.
so let's go ahead. Let's talk about, where people tend to get taken advantage of or believe everything they read. I want your take on it. You've been in this industry for a while and you've got some personal experience with it, but how do you help people avoid that miracle claim, and measure progress the same way? There's so many different wellness products out there now, supplements, gadgets, wearables, recovery tools. How do you separate that from the hype from the reality?
It is tough. And even like with AI, if you're on social media, I was at a class yesterday and they said 75% of what you see is AI. So there's so many, tools being thrown at you. So, I mean, I think you just really need to stay grounded and practical and don't jump on anything, just take the time really to research it, look at it with discernment, because there's nothing that's going to change your life overnight. Right? Like your body does not get to that way overnight. It's not going to heal overnight. So, just looking for things that have some research. And I personally, because I'm heart centered, I like the real world testimonials. I like hearing people's stories. And of course, consistency, anything I'm cautious, I guess, is anything that's curing, to cure everything overnight, or fear-based marketing, right? There's a lot of that out there too, fear-based marketing. So for me personally, because I've been doing, sharing the products I share for the last 10 years, it's the patterns of people feeling better, recovering better, all of the things. So that's how I kind of try to stay away from it. But I get pulled in time to time, and test new things out. And there's some that are great and some not so much.
Yep, you've got to try new things, and technology is always emerging. But it's good to have people like yourself with personal experience be able to share that with us, the new people within this industry. So let's send our listeners off with a simple plan. If somebody wants to start this week, what are the first 3 steps maybe they should take that are easy?
Yeah, I mean, kind of what we talked about, just look at your hydration and your sleep, because most people are more depleted than they really know, and start moving consistency. If you're walking daily, that's fine. And then just look at the stress in your life. Look at what's stressing you out, and take a look at that. For me, I love to get grounded in the morning. I go out, I get my feet in the ground. I get that good vitamin D. That's why we live here.
Yep.
Without sunglasses, without sunscreen, early in the morning, that definitely fills my body and gives me energy throughout the day. But I just encourage people to track their energy, their sleep, their mood, their cravings, and their mental clarity for 30 days. And then you'll notice meaningful shifts when you're consistently supporting just those basic things. It doesn't have to be complicated. And we as humans tend to complicate everything, or at least I do.
You're not complicated at all. Not at all. Never. So where can people find and learn more if they had some questions for you?
Yeah, so my website is Braveheart-HW, which stands for Health Wellness, bravehearthw.com. You can actually schedule like a 15-minute consult with me, and I can see if any of our products could help you. I mean, I can tell you the low intensity helps everyone. There's no one it doesn't help. But yeah, just reach out there or follow me on Facebook or Instagram, Danielle Rambur, and happy to help in any way I can.
Very good. Any last words for our listeners today?
Don't wait for illness to start valuing your wellness. I know what it cost me. I was healthy. I didn't think anything was wrong. I was 37 years old. So don't wait for something to go wrong before you fix it. Or JFK also said, he said, the time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining. Same goes.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I love your other quote, choose life. Or choose love, right?
Choose love, yes.
Choose love. I'm going back to my Wham days. Sorry. Danielle, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for being such a good neighbor, and we'll see you out grounding at the beach soon. I need to walk on the beach soon for sure.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Thank you for spending this time with the Fort Myers Beach Good Neighbor podcast, health and wellness series brought to you by Renew You, Natural Health and Beauty. If today's episode helped you, share it with a friend and check the show notes for local resources and next steps you can try this week. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, celebrate the small wins, and remember, better days are built one breath, one choice, and one good neighbor at a time. Also, to nominate your favorite health and wellness expert to be on the show, go to FMBGoodneighbor.com, that's FMBGoodneighbor.com, or call 239-427-4100. Until next time, remember to Cabo Antilia, Wabo, and keep being a good neighbor.